Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Chance, and it's Friday, so that means it's time for some hot takes. Now, I was off last week, so I'm a little out of practice. I need to ease back into things, so this might be a little bit shorter. Well, you know, every time I say it's going to be shorter, it ends up not being shorter, so yeah, we'll see if that works out. But I will be going after the Spaniverse in this video. So that means we're going to be talking about Wingspan, Wyrmspan, Finspan. And yeah, we'll see how this goes for me. I'm going to do it in that order as well because I think the order that I was exposed to these games is important for my opinion of these games. So let's kick things off with the first one released, and that is going to be Wingspan. Now, Wingspan holds a kind of a soft spot for me because it was definitely one of those games that brought me into the hobby board gaming space. I'm not going to say it was the one that brought me into that space. I think over the pandemic, playing Scythe and Arc Nova solo is kind of what really drove me into the board gaming hobby space. But Wingspan was one of those games that I bought pretty early on, probably before I was really deep into hobby board games. But of course, I've played games before that. Like I've always played some board games in the past, like I played a bit of Catan in college, a little bit of Dominion. Back in high school, I had like Risk and Stratego that I enjoyed. So, you know, there's been games in my past, but I would say that Wingspan was really kind of, especially for, I think this is true for a lot of people, brought people into just the world of board gaming. It introduced people to something that wasn't Monopoly, right? So for that, I think Wingspan just deserves a ton of praise for just the audience that it was able to reach. So let's move on to what do I actually think of this game? Because Wingspan is a game that I enjoy. I don't love Wingspan. It's probably it might be in my top 100, probably in my top 150. It's definitely not one that I'm going to ask to play very often, but it is something that I find to be pretty chill, pretty relaxed, and just a pleasant experience. Now, I will say I don't really want to play it with 3 or 4 people most of the time, and that's just because it can take a little bit longer, and I don't know if the game's really worth it. But if I have a group that's not big on board games and they like birds and they want this as the intro experience, like I think Wingspan is a great one for that. And then also I like playing it 2 players with my wife. She knows the game, she enjoys the game, although very competitive, so she doesn't like losing at Wingspan. But it is one that will still occasionally hit my table. So why do I like this game? Why do I enjoy Wingspan at all, I guess? Let's go with that. First, let's just say birds, you know? This is not a common theme for board games, and I would say Wingspan kind of probably kicked off this whole nature thing in board games. But I have a fascination with birds. I would not call myself like a hobby birder by any means. I just think birds are cool. Like I really am I love watching them as a kid. Like I think they're just their flight patterns are super interesting. Every time I watch like Planet Earth or any of those nature documentaries, like birds, they just fascinate me. I've had a fascination with like robotic birds and trying to design birds, understanding how the wings of birds and the feathers work on birds, and like if you watch them flapping in slow motion, how the feathers rotate to let the air come through on the way up, and just everything about how nature has designed birds it's just amazing to me. So because of that, I already have some connection to this theme. And I would say that Wingspan, like thematic integration is not strong, but because I have that tie-in to this interest in birds, I think that is something that allows me to connect with this game more than I would if it had some other theme, some other maybe more abstract theme. And we'll get to more abstract in a second here. Don't worry about that. So with that, and then the fact that every card has text on it. If I get bored during this game, if I'm waiting on my turn or something like that, I love just looking at the text and those facts about those birds on those cards. Like I think it's a good way to pass the time while waiting for someone with AP to take their turn. Next up is the 2 primary actions in the game. I think that playing the birds is fun. So that is one action, just getting birds into your tableau. I enjoy that process. I enjoy trying to get the right food, to get the right bird out. I enjoy seeing what birds are in the market, to choose one. I enjoy going after different strategies in this game and be like, ooh, I'm going to go for the predator strategy this time, even though that's a random odds of having success. But I think that's just fun to do. I like going after being like, oh, I'm going to go heavy on card draws this time, or I'm going to go heavy on food storage this time, and just trying out those different strategies and playing those birds into your tableau. Number two is I love activating that engine. I think that's probably what makes this game shine so much, is that as you add those birds to your tableau, you get to go and activate that engine and get stronger and stronger every time you add a bird to that row in your board. So those are the two things that just mechanically make this game interesting to me. Like, those are the two things I want to focus on in this game. Next up is, let's say kind of mechanically, but let's call it the structure. So I like two structure elements of this game. One are those endgame goal cards. I love the endgame goal cards. I love it when games give me endgame goal cards. I usually like it when games give me a couple endgame goal cards and I get to choose them midway through the game, like maybe in round 2 or 3, I get to choose the one I'm going after. And that is kind of a house rule that you can do in Wingspan because you're going to deal out 2. And maybe you say, okay, at the end of round 1, you get to choose which one to keep or something like that. But I like having that direction when I go after this game. It kind of says, like, Wingspan has a lot of freedom on what you can pursue, but that goal card you choose gets to be the one that drives you down a certain path. It doesn't lock you into a path, but it does kind of give you a little bit of focus. And I think games like this need some focus, especially bringing in new players. Like, if you're bringing in someone that doesn't game as much, and maybe it's going to be a little too overwhelming for them, you give them those endgame goal cards and be like, go for that. Like, make that your focus. Don't worry about everything else. Just like make this one the thing you're going to go after. So I think that's a really nice structure in a game, is having those endgame goal cards at the start where you get some direction to go after in this game. And then the second thing that I think is great for introducing games to players that makes this a little more beginner friendly. Like, this is light to medium engine building, right? So it's kind of might be a little beyond your non-gamer, but you can probably bring them in. And this part of the game is what makes it, I think, work. And this is the equal number of turns per round and the reduced number of turns per round. So I absolutely love this. I love that you get 8 turns in the beginning because your engine's not very strong, so you aren't going to be able to do a whole lot. Then as the game progresses and your engine gets stronger and stronger, the game is going to limit you. It's going to restrict you a little bit. And also that helps because as you get to those later rounds, your turns are going to take longer and longer. Now, while I'd love it if Wingspan had another round to play with that engine more, I feel like if it went on to that an extra round at the end, just the turn lengths would be so long that it would be, waiting around would become a little excruciating for me. So I think the game ends at the right time, and I think it has the right pacing with that turn structure in this game. The last thing I want to mention, and this is the more divisive element in the game, this is going to be the dice tower, the bird feeder. I love it. Some people hate the bird feeder. They're like, oh, I don't want this randomness in my Euro game or whatever, but I absolutely love the bird feeder. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I love it when I don't have the food I need in that bird feeder and I'm frustrated the whole time. Like, I'm like, oh, come on. And I love it when I roll those dice and I don't get the thing I want and I'm like, wow, this is going absolutely poorly for me. I also love the fact that is the part of the interaction that I enjoy, is the fact where maybe I look at it, I'm like, ooh, do I take that food? But that's going to allow them to re-roll and them to possibly get the food that they need because they don't want this. They don't want the worm that's out here. No one wants worms right now. So if I take this cherry, then they're going to re-roll all the dice and then they're probably going to get what they need. So I love that part of the interaction of choosing when to roll the dice or which dice to roll, well, which dice to take, I should say, and kind of having that pacing of like, when do I let the other player roll the dice? Do I wait and see if they take the die to see if they're going to allow me to re-roll? Like, I think it's fantastic. Some people hate this because it does add this element of variability, element of randomness, element of not having control. But like in this game, I don't want a deterministic structure to it. I want a little bit of that challenge and that tactical gameplay to go after in Wingspan. So those are the reasons why I really enjoy Wingspan. I think that it is just this merging of let's say, simplicity and crunchiness and tactical decision making that it just works. I do like, it's not going to be my favorite game. Like I said, I don't request to play this ever, but I'm never upset to play Wingspan. Like I enjoy pulling out Wingspan and playing it. It's just never at the top of my list. But I do think it does so well with new players and bringing people into the hobby, and it's just very well designed. Next thing I want to mention is that my base setup for Wingspan these days is with the Europe expansion and the I'm forgetting the second one, Oceania expansion. So Oceania adds in the Europe is, let's just call it more stuff, more cards with some, I think, end round bonuses or something. And then we have the Oceania expansion, which adds in that nectar. It changes the game a bit. They nerf the eggs because essentially at the end of base Wingspan, one of the main strategies is to just like spam egg production to get a lot of points at the end of the game. In Oceania, they nerf the eggs to make them less powerful at the end of the game, to put more focus on playing those bird cards. And they also added nectar in. Nectar is that wild resource. Abstracts out a little bit because it's like, why am I playing a hawk with nectar? I don't know. But it is one of those things that kind of loosens up that bird feeder randomness a little bit. It does give you a little more control over being able to play the cards that you want, which even though I like the tactical decision making that the bird feeder drives, I don't feel that the nectar reduces that by a whole lot. It does make it a little more friendly to get out birds, which, like I said, that's one of the mechanics I like. So the fact that Oceania kind of, by nerfing those eggs and adding in that random resource, I think that it does put a little more focus on playing those birds out to your tableau, which I think is a really good improvement in the game. I will say that I have no intention of expanding Wingspan beyond that set. Like, that is the set that I have for Wingspan, and that's the way Wingspan is staying for me. I have played with the the Asia, not with all of the Asia expansion components. I think I played with, someone wanted to play Wingspan at like 7 or 8 players, and that was a god-awful experience. I do not recommend that to anybody. I don't know why they did that. That was awful. That was a terrible, terrible, terrible day. I think the game took like 3 or 4 hours or something, and people left during it. Like, it was, oh man, yeah. It says simultaneous, but there's certain things, the timing, I don't know. I don't recommend ever doing that. Maybe the other parts of Asia are good, but whatever. I don't ever expect to go beyond what I currently have for Wingspan because it meets my needs. It meets what I want out of Wingspan. Wingspan I see as kind of like a random engine tableau building game. Well, pseudo-random. Like, if I play someone that's skilled at Wingspan, they're going to beat me. It's kind of like Arc Nova. Some people see the randomness of the cards in Arc Nova as being a huge issue, whereas I see it as like, I have to make some tactical decisions, and the fact that I played Arc Nova so many times at this point, I can easily beat somebody that's going to be new to it. Like, it's not a random point generator. Same thing with Wingspan. There's going to be a lot of randomness in it, but someone that is good at Wingspan is going to win at Wingspan for the most part. So that's my introduction to the Spaniverse. That's probably most people's introduction to the Spaniverse, right? The Stomemaier span games. Wingspan is kind of the one that has the most attention, the most media, the most sales, like one of the most successful board games on the market. So with that being said, with the groundwork being laid for my opinion of Wingspan, let's move on to Wyrmspan. And I am going to start this by saying that I don't like Wyrmspan. I'm not saying that this is a bad game. If you like Wyrmspan, if you love Wyrmspan, that is totally fine. Like, I think Wyrmspan works as a board game. It is a perfectly functional game. It does not land in the category that I like. It leans a little more into those Euro elements, and I am not a strong Euro gamer. I enjoy some Euro games, but I have a very kind of specific taste in Euro games. So, not trying to, what's the phrase, yuck on anyone's yum here. I am going to be pretty negative on Wyrmspan, but that does not mean that you are wrong for liking Wyrmspan. Wyrmspan is a game that I do not like. Now, I'm prefacing this with this hot take because it's just, starting to review games. Like, I have some games that I want to review, and I want to review them negatively, but it feels bad to talk badly about these games, especially since like I'm not trying to say the designer is a bad designer. Like I'm not trying to say they did a bad job on their game. There's just some games that aren't going to land with people. And, you know, like I did my review on Undaunted's Adventures, Tales to a Maze, right? The co-op version of Undaunted. And that was, for me, a negative review. I recognize the good elements in the game, but also recognize why the game didn't land for me. And, you know, instantly I post that, I only have like 300 subscribers, but I lost a subscriber. I'm like, come on. You know, what are you guys doing? You guys can't have differing opinions? Whatever. So maybe you'll be angry at me, but Wyrmspan, I like almost nothing about what they changed in this game. So first up, I feel like they took away from, well, no, let's start with theme. I'm going to start with theme because I don't have any connection to this theme. I like fantasy. I'm more of a sci-fi person though, so like dragons are fine. They're good, whatever, you know. But the problem is all dragons are fictional, but these are entirely fictional. I have no connection to these at all. These aren't pulled from any type of fiction series to like lean on and be like, oh, I know this dragon. I know what this dragon does. There's no real world application of these dragons. I think that maybe if I would go through and read that lore book that comes with Wyrmspan, maybe that would give me connection to these dragons. Then when I see it, I'd be like, oh, I remember this one. That's what they do. But I'm going to reference another game, Red Rising by Stomemaier. Red Rising is a game that I feel like if you do not read Red Rising, it is going to be absolutely pointless to play. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some of you have played and been like, oh, that was a cool game. I don't think so because that game is done pretty poorly. I enjoyed playing Red Rising by Stomemaier because I've read the series Red Rising. So every time one of those characters came out, I was like, oh, hey, that's that person. They do that. And then like it was trying to get the sets of the cards. I'm like, oh, they want to be paired with that person because of this. And they want to not be paired with this person because of this in the story. Like everything connected. Whereas Wyrmspan, like I said, there's no connection to any of these dragons. They were all made up for this game. They all exist only in Wyrmspan. So unless I have some sort of fascination with dragons and someone's ability to invent new dragons, there's no reason for me to connect with any of the art in these cards. Now, I will say the art is good. I like the watercolor styling. I enjoy the art. I think that there were some misses on the design of these cards though, because I feel like there's a little bit of the vision friendly stuff that they have. I love that Stomemaier is doing it, but I feel like the design of the cards got a little messy and like the illustrations got a little small. I wish they would have been zoomed in a bit, maybe not worried about having the full dragon on the card, maybe zooming in a little bit on those art, just trying to fill out the cards a little bit. So not have so much white space, and then having like, there are some banners that kind of looked a little, you know, like they were done in paint versus like the cool illustrations. So the vision friendly stuff kind of took away from the cards a little bit. So I wish they would have put a little more work in that, making them just get a little more focus on those illustrations, because I do think the illustrations are good. But yeah, because I have no connection to dragons, that means the theme in this game is 100% pointless to me. I just won't see it during this game. Next up, the part I love about, or two of the parts that I love about Wingspan, what I mentioned, were playing the birds and activating the engine. In Wyrmspan, I feel like they made both these things harder instead of easier. So we now have the excavate action. You have to excavate before you can play a dragon down, which is the entice action. But now I have an extra step to do the thing I enjoyed. I don't enjoy throwing in extra steps to do what the fun part of a game. Like I just don't. I don't see the point of throwing in something that just takes away from me having a fun turn. Like if I have, it's like I gotta do 3 things before I can have a fun turn. That is kind of not a fun game. Now I do have games that are going to have more strategic planning, like Gaia Project. I really enjoy Gaia Project, and that is a game where not all turns are fun. They are all very stressful, but I enjoy that planning. I enjoy kind of coming up with that strategy there. Wyrmspan, it took away so much from that focus of having fun that it just became, and it threw it into kind of that planning weight category where the type of game that it is no longer met what I expected the weight to be. It was kind of like the weight exceeded my expectation of the experience. So that's where there's just now this mismatch. Like Wingspan, I thought was nearly perfect on kind of its weight to theme to mechanics, like it kind of landed in this sweet spot. Then Wyrmspan, its weight went way up, while the actual structure of the gameplay, the pseudo-random engine building, kind of stayed the same to me. So it's kind of like it just kind of has this gap now that just doesn't work for me. And then next, the eggs got weird. Like things got a little more abstract in this. Like you're now spending eggs to excavate the caverns. I'm not entirely sure. I was trying to decide what I wanted to have this mean thematically. It was either that the explorer needed breakfast, so they decided that scrambled dragon eggs was going to be their fuel for doing their excavations, or maybe the dragon eggs are kind of explosive because they're fantastical creatures, so they use them basically as dynamite to clear out cavern space for the next dragons. But then I'm like, why are they killing their young to excavate these caverns where they're now enticing these dragons and then gathering their eggs? And I'm not really sure I totally followed the reasoning behind this structure. So yeah, that was just weird to me. Next up, guild board. Hated it. I'm sorry, I did. I'm sorry. This just added in, first off, this took away the goal cards. I like those endgame goal cards. Like I said, I like giving some focus in the beginning of the game. That guild board just added in, it weaned into the Euro elements, and now the only interaction, especially the exclusion of the dice tower, the only interaction in the game, it took it straight to Euro interaction. It was now a race to get things. It was like someone maybe took the card I wanted, someone got to the space that I wanted to get to, someone did this before I wanted to. So everything turned into just the Euro race mechanic for interaction, which is probably one of my least favorite forms of interaction. I don't mind it in some places, but for the most part, I don't care for it. So next up, we got the, yeah, I think I mentioned extra steps to do what's fun on Wingspan. Same thing with running your engine. I like the Explorer getting more expensive each time you wanted to run your engine. It's kind of like it made it harder and harder to run your engine. But it was, I think, maybe to reduce the number of times you could spam certain actions, which I understand mechanically, like it all makes sense. Like I said, this game works. It is very functional for what it is. The design is solid. Everything is functional in Wingspan. But the fact that, one, playing the dragons became harder, two, running your engine became harder and more expensive to do, it just took away from the things that I enjoyed in Wingspan in the first place. The last thing I want to mention are the coins, because I also, surprise, surprise, I hated the coins. This is because one of the things that I dislike in games is unequal turns. Now, there are some games that I think get away with unequal turns, like Blood Rage with its rage mechanic, and then we have Gaia Project with its unequal turns, but it's has way more depth, way more strategy to it. Fractured Sky being kind of strategic with your turn order system. And this is where I think that a lot of these games, when they have unequal turns, sometimes that first player token or first player, I would say player order, can be super important. So like both Gaia Project and Fractured Sky pull out player order mechanics where the first person to go out gets to go first the next time, and choosing when to go out, that can be a critical decision in the game. Whereas in Wyrmspan, you just have the coins. The coins are determined if you're gonna have more turns or not. And I feel like this can lead to bad first experiences because essentially someone that knows the game, knows the cards, could kind of go after that coin strategy and just have way more turns than someone else. And guess what sucks in a game? Sitting around waiting for someone to take like 3 or 4 extra turns than you do in the same game, and just sitting for like 20 minutes and waiting for them to execute their engine, they're playing their dragon card, trying to decide what to do. Yeah, that is insanely boring in a game. I've been the person in other games. I think Garfield Games had one, maybe it was Paladins, I want to say, where I was doing ridiculously well on my first play, and 2 of the players were just sitting around waiting for me to do all the fun stuff. That's no good. I feel like for lighter games that I want to introduce to people, that is something that I try to avoid just entirely, because I think that's definitely a gamer mechanic, right? Like, yeah, Wyrmspan, yeah, it's the more gamery version of Wingspan, sure, you can say that. But like I said before, it has this weight that doesn't match what I expect in the game for just mechanically, I guess, and the coins just make that worse. So I don't like that unequal turn system because it's never going to be something that I want to bring someone into, because I don't want someone to be sitting around waiting for someone to take turns. Like, it's just something that it's a pet peeve of mine in these games. Maybe I'll make a video on that on Table Talk, on turn structure and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for Wyrmspan for me. As you can tell, there was nothing that really drew me into this game. To me, it took all the things I like in Wingspan and just made all of them worse instead of better. And took the parts that I enjoyed and just was like, nah. But like I said, this game is not for me. This game, I think this has not, well, it clearly has an audience. It has pretty high rankings, but I'm surprised that there's not like any negative reviews out there on it. Like, it's kind of weird. I've heard some podcasters talk a little more negatively on it, but nothing like posted to VGG. I don't know if people want to deal with the outrage. So yeah, we'll see how this video goes for me then. Okay, let's be done with Wyrmspan, because I feel bad that I don't have anything like good to say about it other than that it weaned into the Euro elements. It became a more gamery version of Wingspan. It just went away from all the things I like about Wingspan. So let's talk about a game that went in the very opposite direction. And this is going to be Finspan. So Finspan is the newest one in the Span series, and this is the one based around fish, and they went a lot lighter on Finspan. Finspan, what I have written here, I wrote meh. That sums up how I feel about Finspan. It's fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I have no interest in playing it again. It's a game where it was very solitary, had very little interaction, kind of took away even the Euro-y interaction in Wyrmspan, didn't have the resource interaction in Wingspan. It was just drawing from the top of a deck. Like, you didn't even have the race to get cards because you didn't know what you were going to get most of the time. It was just drawing from a face-down deck the entire time. So yeah, it's multiplayer solitaire. There are some things that are going to trigger and give other people benefits, but I would say almost entirely multiplayer solitaire. The things I liked about Finspan are going to be, one, the cards. I like fish. Fish are neat. I don't like them as much as birds, but I used to fish a lot as a kid, and so fish are neat. I like the art on the cards. I like the idea with the depths of the cards and stuff like that, and having the different zones in the ocean for the cards, and then the light versus the dark zones and stuff. So all that's good. The other part my favorite part of Finspan is actually the little spatial puzzle you get with the little minnow tokens and the eggs or whatever, and hatching the eggs and trying to build the fish schools and stuff. I think that putting those out and trying to get them to merge into a school and then having the school as a blocker, like, thematically, I don't understand it at all. But as far as a neat little spatial puzzle, I thought it was neat. I liked it. I thought that was probably my favorite part of the game, was playing around with those minnow tokens and having them swim around in my ocean. But there were things that just it made it kind of boring. Just drawing from the top of the deck. You're playing cards most of the time as resources into your discard to put your cards out on your tableau. And then for some reason, every now and again, you go fishing through your discard to get a card that you used earlier. I didn't fully understand some of those choices, but it was a pretty simple, pretty straightforward game. Things I disliked about it are just it's just no player interaction. Like, what another player was doing literally didn't matter to me. The other thing is that the boards are crazy long. They're massive. We had to stagger them on a table because they took up too much space. Like, the layout design of these is kind of crazy. But overall, I don't have a strong opinion on Finspan. I think that if you are someone that enjoys the Span series, if you liked Wingspan, want something lighter, maybe something even easier to introduce to people or kids or something like Finspan, that could be good. It's just something that, it was maybe went too light for me from Wingspan. Like, it may have made some of those things easier that I like to do, but maybe too easy. Maybe taking away any bite. It took away any bite in the game, and it just didn't have any tension anymore. So making it too light, it kind of went once again the wrong way. But I don't have any strong negative or positive feelings on Finspan. So that is what it is. Okay, so that's going to do it for my hot takes. And yeah, like I said, it's a harder video to make. Talking bad about a game is not something I thoroughly enjoy doing, but I feel like it's important to share these opinions. It's important for people to know. And because, yeah, sometimes I see games that have just massive positive reviews, and it's like, wait, there's someone out there that doesn't like this, right? There's someone that doesn't want to play this game, right? So yeah, Wingspan, like I said, it's now a classic. Everyone knows about Wingspan. I like birds. I think it's pretty chill to play. I like the structure of the game. I think it does a good job making it easy to introduce other people. So Wingspan's my sweet spot in the Spaniverse. Wingspan was the one that's staying in my collection. Well, the other two never entered my collection, but I got to play them anyways. Wingspan, though, I'm holding on to. I play it maybe once a year. I debate on getting rid of it, but I think I have some nostalgia for it, and my wife likes it, so, it's sticking around. Wyrmspan, I would like to never see again. I don't have any interest. I will refuse to play that game. I don't refuse to play a lot of games, but I literally just have no interest in playing Wyrmspan. I have a weird, just absolute dislike of the game. It made everything worse for me. It took away all the fun parts of it and just made it more Euro-y, which is not what I wanted. If I want to play a more Euro-y game, I'm going to pull out Gaia Project. I'm going to pull out Pipeline. I have better Euro games than Wyrmspan. That's the main problem, is that there's just better resource management games out there for me. I don't need to have Wyrmspan. I didn't need a Euro version or more Euro version of Wingspan. So yeah. And maybe I dislike Wyrmspan so much because of Wingspan, because Wingspan does exist. And because Wingspan was first in the series, I was hoping to see something that leaned into those things that I really enjoyed. And yeah, it just didn't. I think that it probably did lean into those things that some people enjoy. Like I said in the hot take, yeah, it definitely leaned into those things that some people enjoy. So it was just a game that kind of went away from the things I liked, went towards a different crowd. Then Finspan. Yeah, meh, fine, sure. Don't want to play again, but it was fine. So that's going to do it for the hot takes this Friday. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know if you hated me talking negatively about this game, and maybe I should avoid doing it in the future, but I won't, because I refuse to not give my honest opinion on these games. So that is what it is. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending your time with me. And if you hated seeing me talk negatively on Wyrmspan and you didn't unsubscribe, thank you for not unsubscribing. I'll talk to you next time.